All right, now, everybody. Quiet, listen to me. We're going to start a show. Now, some of you people have been with me before. You know it's going to be a tough grind, but we're going to have a show.
Hey, it is the Mark Thompson Show. I'm Kim McAllister. Of course, Mark is traveling back to California from Washington, D.C. today. So it is Albert and I holding down the fort for you on this Friday. And hi, Albert. How are you?
Good morning. It's Friday, Kim. Excited for the weekend.
Friday.
What do we have planned the next few days?
I don't have anything planned except for trying to stay cool. How about you?
Yeah, same. It's gonna be warm out there, but we'll figure it out. Maybe some beverages. Always beverages
for the weekend. I am very excited to have it be Friday today because it's Friday Fabulous Florida, and I know that you've always put together a great one, and so I'm looking forward to that. So John Daly will be along to talk about that, and then of course yesterday we saw more indictments against the former president, and I'm really looking forward to the conversation with Michael Shure and Jim Avila as we discuss that. And of course, it's movies, and a lot of people have been flocking to the movies, and Michael Snyder will be along to give us his take on what is coming up at the movie theater, so we'll do that. But first, let's talk about the new charges against former President Trump, because I don't think we can start the show with anything else, honestly. It's a new defendant in the case as well. The expansion of the classified documents case underway. And I guess I think we expected it, right? We knew something was coming, although yesterday it was kind of touch and go. There was word there would be charges, and then there wasn't be charges, and okay. The new charges came down in a superseding indictment, so they're being added to the other case. And it's a third defendant now, the maintenance worker who allegedly helped the number one helper, Nauta, move all these documents that were under subpoena around Mar-a-Lago in order to keep them from federal officials. So Carlos D. Oliveira, who is a maintenance person at Mar-a-Lago, was added to the case. So he now, along with Walt Nauta and Donald Trump, accused of obstructing the investigation. The former president accused of telling these workers to delete video footage of, I guess, of where the documents are.
There's never been anything like this
at Trump's Florida resort. So, yeah. This is what is happening. And so we'll talk more about that when we welcome Jim Avila and Michael Shure, but I wanted to kind of start the show with that. It's unbelievable. And more charges will be coming as well. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Florida. I was reading a story yesterday about a history teacher who quit because of what Florida is doing when it comes to teaching Black history. And now we have this Black fraternity moving their Florida convention because of Ron DeSantis. This is Alpha Phi Alpha. It is the oldest Black fraternity in America. And they were going to hold their convention in Orlando in 2025. And now they're not. They're saying, no, we can't do that. They say that Ron DeSantis has set in place harmful, racist, insensitive policies against the Black community, and they just can't hold their convention there at all. So, and this is, this is the fraternity of Martin Luther King Jr. Who else? I think Thurgood Marshall was a member of this fraternity. They say, in this environment of manufactured division and attacks on the Black community, Alpha Pi Alpha refuses to direct a projected $4 $5.6 million convention economic impact to a place hostile to the communities that we serve. So it's, they're losing teachers who are throwing in the towel and saying this is not a climate conducive to education. And they're losing big conventions because of these policies. It looks like a failure to me for Ron DeSantis and what he's doing in Florida. This whole fight against wokeness in schools or against teaching the truth in schools, and this is what we get. Especially with the Florida Department of Education, who having now to teach that people that were enslaved had highly specialized trades from which they benefited during their time in bondage. Okay. I can see why. I can see why the fraternity isn't going there. You know where they can come with open arms? California. We'll take you. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about that with Jim Avila and Michael Shure as well. I wanted to give you an update. Remember the case in San Francisco where the security guard, I think it was a Walgreens, Albert, opened fire on a shoplifter. The shoplifter, a trans Black woman named Banco Brown. Well, the security guard wasn't charged in this case, but has been fined now. There is an organization, I guess, that oversees security guards in California. It is, what is it called? The California Bureau of Security and Investigative Services. They say that this is a couple of problems here with what happened. That first of all, the security guard was wearing a sweatshirt that didn't have a bureau approved patch on each shoulder saying security, right? That said private security. So you need to have that on you. You also need to have the name of the company on the patch for which you're employed. Didn't have that. And that the security guard was carrying a concealed firearm in a zippered pouch on the tactical vest he was wearing over his sweatshirt. And that, as I guess, a different weapon from the one he used to shoot Brown. But you can't do that, I guess. They say that's against their rules. So the security guard is being fined. I mean, given what happened there, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it's about $1,500 by this organization. Says, yeah, you broke the rules, the uniform rules, and the concealed firearm rules that we have, and so you will face fines. He will not face charges, criminal charges. The district attorney in San Francisco still saying this was a self-defense situation. But yeah, the fine, we're going to have a fine. So
yeah, it's weird because they usually don't do anything right during these break-ins, and this one unfortunately had a sad ending to it.
Yeah, it did have a sad ending. But it just seems like it's, $1,500 fine. I don't know. This is a sad story, and I almost didn't want to bring this up because it's Friday and it's kind of a fun day, but I think we have to talk about it. I don't even know where to start. This man in San Mateo stabbed this woman to death and filmed the whole thing, did a live feed of it on Facebook. This is disturbing. It happened Wednesday. This man is a Pacifica man, 39-year-old Mark Mechikoff. He went to this woman's apartment, and there's still kind of discrepancy over what their relationship is and how they knew each other. But angry man yells at her, kills her, all while people are watching on their Facebook feed. And somebody calls the police. It's too late for this woman. But they find him. I think they found him in his car in the area. And so he's under arrest now. but really
Yeah, not the
disturbing.
smartest moves if you're wanting to do one of those or get away with
No.
it. But maybe he didn't want to get away with it because obviously he's not in the right mind, I guess.
No, not even. Meta had to take his profile down. They had to take the video down. I just think if you happen to be on Facebook when something like that happened, I mean, obviously awful for the victim in the case and her family, but also for all the people that had to, witness that person dying in a live video on Facebook. Just horrible. And it happened right here in the Bay Area. So the good thing is the man was arrested. But yeah, one of the horrible things, I guess, that we can use social media for, just disturbing. Yeah. Here's some video. I'm hoping we can get the video of this. This is kind of a happy thing. Let's follow up the sad thing with a happy thing, because there's something in nature that there's never been anything like this. We haven't seen this before. There are whales in the Monterey Bay. It's a great time to see them, but something really cool happened this week, and these whales leapt out of the water all at the same time. So this actually didn't happen in the Bay Area. It happened in Massachusetts. However, this kind of phenomenon involved these whales leaping out of the water at the same time. You can see 3 of them, and then it's followed up by a 4th who is a little off. They have to work on their choreography, but let's watch.
Say a triple breach is an extremely rare sight. The man who captured the video for all of us to enjoy believes it was a gift, witnessing it after surviving a war zone. A breathtaking sight.
Oh, I was stunned.
Off the coast of Provincetown.
I got it.
3 humpback whales breaching in perfect synchronicity, and a calf following their lead.
I've seen thousands of whales. Never ever have I seen a triple synchronized breach.
Longtime fisherman Robert Addy was celebrating his birthday on the water over the weekend. The first time he and his 3 adult daughters were together in 10 years.
Somebody said that the whales represented my joy of having my 3 girls together, and I'm running with that one.
Addy sees it as a gift. Just weeks ago, he was in war-torn Ukraine, aiding those on the front lines, not knowing if he would make it back.
Under artillery fire in Kherson, Ukraine, and I felt like God was smiling down on us. It was very emotional.
Joy he is sharing with others. The video going viral on social media, making an impression on marine scientists.
Very rare, I'd say. How lucky, truly how lucky were they to be there at that very moment?
If you want to see a whale breach, now is the time. Well, experts say there is an influx of humpback whales in our area.
They follow the food, so they're here feeding off the coast.
Feeding, breaching, and adding a touch of magic to our lives.
Boy, what a show they put on for us. I feel very, very, very touched by it. I felt the joy.
Marine scientists don't quite know why whales breach. It could be play, or they could be shaking barnacles or other parasites from their bodies.
Yeah. Thanks, Albert, for that. That's pretty cool. I mean, all at once. What a sight, right? And I just want to show you that video because
There's never been anything like this.
Yeah, I mean, imagine being there and seeing that. What
he's got going here is a situation.
I'm just glad somebody had the wherewithal to film it, because those things happen so fast, and you think, God, did I really just see that? So, Albert and I were talking about the heat and staying cool this weekend. It has been so hot in Phoenix that I guess cactuses are actually dying. Yes, there is a botanical garden in Phoenix, and they say their Seguro cactuses have become highly stressed, that they can appear fairly normal, feel somewhat squishy before they just collapse, and have revealed that they've been rotting from the inside out because of heat-related stress. So yeah, it is.
Yeah, I saw some pictures on social media of cars actually melting, like the taillights of cars in Phoenix that were melting.
I did not see that. That is crazy. It has been above 90 degrees for 16 days in Phoenix, and I think over 110 degrees for several of those days in a row. The 28th consecutive day of this record streak of heat there. I guess cactuses have this thing about them at night where they kind of regenerate. They carry out this gas exchange. They do things at night in the cooler weather that they can't do during the day. But it's been so hot at night as well as the day that they haven't been able to do that. So, yeah, so stressful and hot for cactuses that they're dying. And you know it's hot when the cactuses are collapsing. That's it. No can do. So, yeah, I thought that was kind of telling. I can't believe the cars are melting too, though, Albert. That's crazy. Wow. I don't know if you can show pictures of this house, but I was thinking about it because of the whales that we were talking about. And that is a whale house. I just put it in the thing. A whale house in Santa Barbara is for sale. It's kind of a cool looking house too. It is, it's called the Whale House in Santa Barbara, and it looks like a giant, I don't know, kind of medieval looking stone structure when you walk in. I guess you could say you're walking into the belly of the beast there. It's for sale for $3.3 million. There it is. Yeah, look how cool that is. It's designed and modeled after the structure of a whale. It has no right angles. Oh, people are trying to call me. Has no right angles, and it's full of wavy lines and unconventional figures. They say the pictures don't even really do it justice, but it's cool looking. I don't know if I'd want to live in such an kind of an unconventional structure, but it is special. 3.3 million. It's got a beautiful outdoor area to hang out in. It was built in 1978. You enter through the whale's mouth to the head of the whale, which includes 3 floors of living space spanning 2,600 square feet. You've got a dining area, living room, kitchen on the main floor, bedroom and bathroom on each of the 2 higher floors. So that's nice. You get a floor to yourself in the evening. Kind of got a cool looking pool/fountain thing going on. Yeah, it's nice. The belly of the whale is an interior courtyard with a patio, an outdoor shower, a 75-foot rock-lined lap pool that stretches through a wood-paneled tunnel. And then you've got, in the whale's tail, a 1-bedroom guest house. So it's interesting. Yeah, there's the belly of the beast, the outdoor area. Check out that rock-lined lap pool. It's cool. It just kind of goes on and on. Yeah. It's interesting. They show you a little bit of the inside. It's got a lot of stones inside of it and a lot of interesting kind of wood. Yeah, there you can see like the wood architecture and the wavy lines. It's interesting. I think it'd be cool to stay there maybe. I don't know, but live there? $3.3 million there in Santa Barbara for the Whale House. It's different. I'll give it that. I don't know. What do you think, Albert?
It looks like a cool Airbnb for a weekend, but then
Right.
like kind of that's it. I don't know
That
about living there.
that rock-lined lap pool stretches inside and it really does look like you're inside of some type of living creature. It's got these wood-lined walls kind of that are have striations on them. So it's really interesting and weird, like circular windows. The bathroom's interesting. The whole place is just a wow. So I'm sure it'll get snapped up in a heartbeat for $3.3 million in Santa Barbara. Although a lot of people are apparently leaving California, and California lost more than $300 million in tax revenue from wealthy residents moving away. So this story from KTLA, for the 3rd straight year, California experiencing a decline in population. A lot of people heading east because while we're losing tax revenue, Florida is picking it up. That's right. There's a migration data study of the IRS data they keep, and they found that no state experienced a larger loss of tax income from migration than California.
What?
It's true. It's true. My E-listing conducted this study. They say California lost more than 340 million in 2021. They think it's the wealthy people that are leaving the state of California, interestingly. So 40% of Californians indicate they'd seriously considered leaving California, mainly due to the cost of living. The migration, they say, of high earners is a little more mysterious. So I guess rich people are checking out. That's it. They no longer need to keep a California residency to maintain careers and businesses because, of course, now you can work from home from anywhere. And so they're out. Of course, Elon Musk was a kind of high-profile Californian, and he moved to Texas last year. Joe Rogan, Rob Schneider have been critical about California politics. They left the state. Scott Baio, he checked out. He announced he was moving to Florida after 45 years in California. And the study shows that Florida was a winner in this IRS tax income from migration. While we lost 340 million,
you see this a lot with athletes too. They choose to go
Yeah.
to the teams in Florida, Texas, because of the, they have huge contracts, so it's like they have less tax breaks, less of their money taken from the
Sure.
state. So
It makes sense,
it's
right?
understandable for these people who got lots of money.
Well, then we have to live in Florida, so I don't know about that. But Florida picks up 12.4 billion in tax revenue, according to this study. So California loses more than 300 million. Florida increased by 12.4 billion. Florida, Texas, and Arizona, the states getting the most IRS tax benefit from migration. California, New York, and Illinois are the three biggest losers in the tax revenue situation. Florida picks up 12.4 billion. Texas picks up 10.7 billion. Arizona picks up 9.4 billion. Colorado, 8.6 billion they pick up. And North and South Carolina, too. That's where people are moving, I guess, when they leave California. It seems so weird to me that you could be in a place that, I mean, I don't know. You could be used to a place like California where you have your personal freedoms about you. I guess as a woman, just looking at where people are moving, I would be horrified to move to a place where I didn't have rights or my daughter didn't have rights. So where they're teaching in school that slavery's a-okay, right? I know, not for me. But yeah, that's what's happening. People are checking out, and I guess that, they're happy to do it. If you had to pick a new state to move to, Albert, where would you go?
That'd depend on how much money I'll be making.
Okay. Say money was no object.
Do
Do you stay in California or do you leave? Do you check out?
California's all I know, so I'm pretty much stuck here. Maybe I'll switch it up. Maybe I'll go to Southern California. I have friends and family down there, so maybe I could just switch it up within state. So I've actually ventured out of the state. So
I think
Union
maybe
City.
my only other choice would be Hawaii. Yeah, I might check into Hawaii.
And that's not bad. That's
Oregon's
not a bad
beautiful.
option.
Yeah, Oregon's nice. It's I don't know, a lot of these states, they don't want Californians, right? They are not interested in having Californians move there. So I think also when you move to a
I do know Canada wants us. I know Canada is trying to have like their own Silicon Valley, so they're recruiting a lot of us, those who need some visas that are working down here. So
that's true.
I mean, that's not a bad option either.
They do want us.
At least you don't have to give up an arm and a leg to survive with the healthcare up there, up north.
I'm reminded of that recent story, though, about the license plate in Nevada. Californians go home. They had to take that license plate down because it was kind of mean. But that's the sentiment. Like, people don't want Californians in their space. They're like, no, thank you. Get out. So, but yeah, it's just interesting where people choose to go. We have, of course, the Friday Fabulous Florida on the way in. Before we get there, though, I wanted to do some news and also tell you this story. Facebook, Instagram, and Threads parent Meta, they're trying to boost retention of their new platform. Mark Zuckerberg is saying he plans to institute hooks to keep people engaged in Threads for longer periods of time and make Threads part of your daily routine. That always kind of scares me when they say they want to put hooks in to some social media site, as if we don't spend enough time on social media as it is, right? And here we go. So what he's saying is he would encourage users to make the platform part of a daily routine. The hooks are coming in the form of new features, including a desktop version of Threads and a search bar, things that can keep you there, keep you scrolling, keep you interested, and suck away and fritter away all of the time that you have to spend on social media. So,
I mean, he's just adding features that Twitter already has, so I'm sure that's gonna spice up the Zuckerberg Musk news.
when you're on Twitter, how much time would you say you spend scrolling around and being in there? I don't know. I mean,
I'm having microphone issues.
oh,
Enough time in between. I like find myself always scrolling a little bit at a time in between everything I'm doing. So I have
right.
in between both of my jobs, Kim. I'm just scrolling through Twitter a little bit, seeing the headlines.
So you're kind of a little bit here and there. I have to really watch myself because I'm more of a Facebook person than a Twitter person. I once got the note from Facebook, if you're on there too long, they pop it up and say, "Hey, you've been on here a long time. Maybe you want to do something else for a while."
Wow.
I know.
The ones that get me are the Instagram shorts and YouTube shorts, or Instagram Reels, and it's the same thing like TikTok, but I'm not on TikTok, so
yeah,
you just keep on scrolling through these very short videos, and I find myself doing that for 2-3 hours, and I'm like, wow, I've just been scrolling.
And then do you ever ask yourself, like, why am I watching this? Like, why is this on my screen? Why am I interested in this? It's amazing that the crap that we'll watch just because we're scrolling. So when they say
I make a conscious effort every time I go out with friends to just not be on my phone. Every time I'm with people, I just put my phone away. I'm like, all right, we're here.
I have
for each other, and I'll be on my phone on my own time, like a crazy person, but not while I'm with people.
Yeah, I think that's rude. And you look around at restaurants and you see tables of people on the phone, and they're not interacting with each other. They're not hanging out together. They're just on their phone. I have a rule at my house at the kitchen table. There's no electronics. So that's no video games. That's no cell phones for my teenager, for the parents, cell phones, everything gone, down, face down. And so, hi. Oh, people are coming in. Wow. We got a new desk chair at my house.
Deluxe gaming chair.
A good deluxe gaming chair. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Albert.
Hi, everyone says hi, Albert.
Hi, Albert.
There's been at my house some desk shuffling. So my son just got a new desk, and now he got a brand new desk chair. So they just rolled the box in here to show me there's a new desk. It's very exciting over a gaming chair for a new desk. Sorry about the intrusion there. It's summer, so the kids are home, and sometimes they're just going to come in. All right.
Better than doing homework, Kim.
That's right. Let's do a little bit of news, and then let's get to Friday Fabulous Florida.
Well, that's a little too early.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. We talked a little bit about the heat, and the heat wave continues today and through the weekend in the Midwest and the Northeast. The rising temperatures putting cities on emergency footing, ramping up pressure on the power grid as well. About 150 million people are in for some extreme heat today from California to New York. Former President Trump denying any wrongdoing after he was hit with more charges in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. In a radio interview today, the former president said he believed he wasn't required to hand over the tapes. but he did so anyway. He's accused the Justice Department of trying to intimidate his employees to make up lies about him. The Biden administration asking the Supreme Court to reinstate regulations on so-called ghost guns. Federal judge in Texas recently put a pause on the new rules after several legal challenges. The Justice Department is now urging the High Court to put the ruling on pause as an appeal plays out. The ACLU warning about privacy concerns as police departments across the country get ready to deploy drones as a new tool to fight crime. There are more than 1,400 police departments nationwide already using drones, but 15 have applied for a special variance from the Federal Aviation Administration. The variance would allow departments to fly these drones beyond the line of sight of the operator. So I don't know, collecting data? Not sure. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell plans to serve out his full term in his leadership position. That, according to a statement from a spokesperson. The Kentucky Republican was first reported by Politico. The statement coming after the 81-year-old had to be escorted away from a news conference after freezing up while he spoke. The Houston Police Department is out with its final report on the deadly 2021 Travis Scott Astroworld Festival. That took a while for them to put that report together. It is more than 1,000 pages, so maybe we can see why it was time-consuming. In a transcribed interview, Scott's team complained that police near the stage were using their cell phones to record the performance instead of watching the crowd. And Haunted Mansion, the movie, is off to a spooky start at the box office, but most likely really won't be able to fend off the so-called phenomenon Barbenheimer. The Disney film brought in just over $3 million from Thursday previews. Barbie, expected to take first place again, is projected to make between $65 and $85 million. And Oppenheimer is expected to follow once again in second place. So if you follow what's happening at the box office and the movies, there you go.
I thought they had a chance. Haunted Mansion has quite the cast. They have a lot of names on there.
Who's in there? Who's in it? Do you know?
Owen Wilson, Tiffany Haddish. I think Danny DeVito's in it. Winona Ryder. Yeah,
okay.
So a good amount of Jamie Lee Curtis, Jared Leto. There's a whole bunch of people in that.
Do you notice that Winona Ryder's always in the creepy movies? Like, Edward Scissorhands or Beetlejuice, Haunted Mansion.
Stranger Things? Isn't she in Stranger Things?
She's
the mom in Stranger Things.
She goes for the creepy ones. So, I don't know. And lastly, we'll talk about the Washington dog poop war. Pooper Trooper. It's a pet waste removal company, is suing Spokane business Scoop Truth, accusing it of copyright infringement and unfair competition. So it's Pooper Trooper versus Scoop Truth. Pooper Trooper filed the lawsuit this week in U.S. District Court. Poopless in Seattle, Poop Scoop and Boogie, and Scoopology are among a couple dozen poop removal companies in Washington. It's an ever-growing lucrative industry, but a Pooper Trooper, they argue Scoop Troop is too similar to its name and services and infringes on the Pooper Trooper trademark.
What the hell is going on in the United States of America?
I didn't even know there were these companies. I guess you can have someone come pick up your dog poop for you. So look at that. I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show. Of course, this show is crowdfunded, which means we rely on you. And you can find more information about our Patreon, PayPal links on themarkthompsonshow.com. And of course, the Super Chat is live, and we thank you. Again, I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Mark Thompson.
Everything is going extremely well.
What he's got going here is a situation.
You people are crazy.
You just don't
get it, Leah. You don't. I cannot believe it.
It's fantastic.
Thompson, party of 4.
What are you doing?
You cannot say you love your country.
Sayonara, sucker. Good day, sir.
Why are you yelling?
Seriously, what the
It is time on this Friday for Friday Fabulous Florida, and that means Albert and I welcome in fabulous producer, former fabulous producer, John Daly to the mix. Hi, John Daly.
Hey, formerly fabulous?
Well, you're still fabulous. You know you are. You've got the nice jacket on today. You're looking stylish.
Well, I was thinking about that because we're going to be hosting a show next Tuesday. Do I go the Mark route and have like the jacket I wear every day?
Yes.
Or do I buy a bunch of hoodies and try to look like Zuckerberg?
I think I'm going for the jacket. I like it. It's nice.
Okay, I'll have to work out. You know, Winona Ryder lived in Petaluma.
Yes,
I think you know
she
that,
did.
right? But did you know we had the same English teacher at Kenilworth Junior High?
What?
Really?
Yeah, she was bullied. So she was bullied so badly that she had to change schools a couple times and ended up going to acting school in San Francisco. But I wonder if her childhood kind of had an impact on the the roles that she takes and what she's interested in. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Of course,
Yeah,
you and
serious
I.
I was going to bring up the shoplifting. And it's that.
Well, she had a very dark
stuff,
childhood. Yeah, and then the shoplifting thing. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think kids that are kind of forced by parents into acting always seem to have.
Well, she was very interested in acting. I know that.
Yeah, but I think
that's why she wanted to go to school in San Francisco.
But she definitely had her parents pushing her. I mean, from a young age. I remember she was in Lucas, and she was just a kid at that point.
Yeah.
So, but we are both from Petaluma, John Daly and I. And again, we will be starting our show on Tuesday. We've reached the 1,000 subscriber mark.
Woo-hoo! And
so the after party live will commence. I will say that it follows a time change. See if I can bring up the maybe you can do it, Albert, the time change graphic that we have. Yeah, so Nikki's show is moving. It will start at 9 a.m.
Pacific.
Because Nikki and I were kind of morning drive on KGO. So
yeah, you were.
Reclaim that title, 9 to 11 with the Nikki Maduro show. The Mark Thompson show shifts back an hour from 11 to 1. And then the after party live, picking up that vacant hour from 1 to 2. So that changes on Tuesday, August 1st, if you're keeping track, if you like to be here live for those shows.
And we should note, it's a big deal, but we wouldn't have gotten to 1,000 subscribers without this audience and the help of Mark Thompson, superstar. Yes. He's kind of a big deal.
He is kind of a big deal. Yes, Mark and Nikki both. Huge thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, Mark wouldn't want you to mention Nikki right now.
Oh, that's true on his show. Sorry,
Mark.
Mark Thompson. It's all about you, Mark Thompson. We're so grateful.
That's better.
It's true.
We'll work on that, Kim.
Well, yeah, okay. I'll have some more sincerity next time.
Yeah.
No, I really though am grateful because again, as John said, everyone in the audience, we would not have reached 1,000 if it weren't for you. Okay, let us move on.
I might have to start my own show if I could just write. I'll steal yours and then steal Mark's and then steal Nikki's, just in that order.
What would you call it?
I have no idea.
How about Albert? Thank you.
Lowering the bar with
C's get degrees. C's get degrees.
Exactly. Lowering the bar.
Well, let's jump right into Friday Fabulous Florida.
It's time for Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
A look at the weirdest stories from our weirdest state.
We will begin with, I don't know, I'm going to say, John Daly, this story really could have happened anywhere. This girl, 11-year-old, in Port Orange, has been arrested after making a false report using 911. It was an abduction hoax. So
this is their new hoax.
She's bored. She thinks this is going to be funny. I don't know. But this girl texted police updates. She calls 911 saying her friend has been kidnapped by an armed man driving a white van on down I-95 in Oak Hill. And then for the next hour and a half, she texts deputies updates explaining that she's following behind this van in a blue Jeep, and she's describing the supposed gunman. Oh, thank you. Look, food has been delivered to me. That's great. Can't eat it right now. Thank you.
You get a new show and all of a sudden, really?
Guys, I'm kind of a big deal, apparently. I don't know. So she's following behind the van in a blue Jeep.
Do you know who I am? I'm kind of a big deal.
There you go. Deputies respond, and they're responding from all over the place to this alleged kidnapping, right? They're coming from Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach, and Port Orange to search for this kidnapper, though no vehicle was found. Eventually, they get to this house in Port Orange after tracking this girl's cell phone, and they talk to the girl's dad, and they figure out she's been inside with her family the entire time. Can you imagine? She's hanging out with her family, like, now I'm behind the van on I-95. Now I'm behind the van. Yeah.
This is their new hoax.
She got the idea, she said.
You know, they do this to me all the time. I don't know what the hell they do it for.
She got the idea through a YouTube challenge, she says, thinking it would be funny. So there's video of, and I think the police really handled this well. They did have to arrest her, but there's video of.
Wait, how old is she? How old is she?
11 years old.
And they arrested her. Wow.
They did. They put her in the cuffs and everything. They said nothing's going to happen, that they're going to use this as a learning experience. But that it really might have helped hurt someone who legitimately needed their help.
So they weren't going to tase her or step on her neck.
No, they didn't do that. No, they didn't. Yeah, so they now have a series of community discussion platforms to talk about what kids are doing online. They have set up like 5 meetings in around this area. But she faces charges, this 11-year-old, of making a false report concerning the use of a firearm in a violent manner and misuse of 911. So they did take her to the Family Resource Center for processing before they took her to juvenile hall.
Ooh,
my bad. I'm sorry.
Processes, protocols, and standards?
Yeah. Can we play the video, Albert? Do we have the video?
I don't know. There's a minor in it, so I'm not sure.
Oh, you don't want to? Because they blur out her face, but okay. So yeah, the sheriffs basically are just saying, yeah, you can't do this. And they kind of give her a stern talking to. So that happened in Port Orange.
Wait, so Port Orange, is that like Mar-a-Lago?
No, it's not. It's not like Mar-a-Lago. Not at all. Not the same thing.
You get it? Port Orange?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think there's documents at Port Orange either. All right. Let's talk about this Florida man, this fine specimen of a fellow who was arrested for dunking a woman's head into a vat of tar during an argument. This is something you don't see every day, I got to tell you.
We've never seen anything like this.
No. Sadly, the woman suffered chemical burns after this man dunked her head in a vat of a kind of a tar-like substance and held her at gunpoint. I guess this is all part of a domestic dispute, unfortunately. Police arrived. They found guns at a neighboring property, but she had chemical
Well, of course
burns.
they're going to find guns at a neighboring property. It's Florida.
Well, yeah, they do. I mean, doesn't everybody have a gun in Florida? Marshall Dimmick is his name, 55, of Rosewood. He was arrested. Woman tells police she's tortured after she had an argument with Dimmick, who is apparently a felon, and that he had dunked her head into a vat of tar during this incident. And she ends up with chemical burns. The substance was used to treat clam and oyster bags, is why they had it around, and nearly choked her
I'm sure that's what
unconsciousness.
he was using it for.
Yeah, so she's got chemical burns on her face, her arms, and he's under arrest, Mr. Dimmick.
This is completely horrible, but this sounds like the plot of like a Looney Tunes cartoon, doesn't it?
It really
it's
does.
like like Tom is messing with Jerry type of thing.
Yeah,
Jerry,
or
vice
like
versa.
a Batman movie.
Crazy. And we have to thank Jim Avila for sending us that one. I mean, wow. Imagine oyster chemical goo all over you. Gross. This Florida man who is 79, you'll be happy to know, has survived an alligator bite. Yes, he was bitten by a nearly 7-foot-long alligator.
That sounds so benign. An alligator bite.
What, like
sounds so
nip,
benign, doesn't it?
Just a little nip. No. He was, of course, and you hear this time and time again, out for a walk around his golf course community neighborhood
with a little dog.
Always happens on the golf
little dog.
course.
Right now it's mating season, and they're hungry.
No.
Wait, let me guess. It was like 5 a.m.?
It was 5 a.m. It happened at the Forest Glen and Golf Course community in Naples, Florida. The 911 call from the man shows that he tells an operator, "I'm bleeding. I don't know how bad it is. There's a lot of skin ripped off. I can see probably some muscle. Go figure. Out for a walk to stay healthy."
How about stop walking your dogs at 5 a.m. around alligator-infested lakes? Like, I didn't even see the story. I didn't even see the story, and I knew it was 5 a.m. in the morning.
I don't think he had a dog. I don't think, but he was.
Well, he doesn't have a dog anymore.
Yeah, no. So they send out this emergency helicopter to take him to be treated. They saw the gator heading to a nearby lake, and they tracked it. They found the gator, removed it from the community.
And if you don't have a dog, why are you walking at 5 a.m. in the morning near alligator?
You've got to get out there.
That's not healthy. Walking around an alligator-infested lake at 5 a.m. in the morning is not healthy.
It's healthy, but it's not smart. As someone who isn't smart as well, John.
It's healthy until it's not healthy.
So the sheriff's department wants everyone to know in Florida, that's U.S., that it is alligator mating season right now.
Well, Jim knows that.
And so you have to be very, very careful around bodies of water and vegetation while alligators nest. And it's true, John Daly, that they are most active, these alligators, between dusk and dawn hours. So plan accordingly to reduce the chances of running into them.
It was wrong, it was stupid, and I'm trying to be a better person.
Do they need to put up signs or something? Maybe they can hand out, like, when you move to Florida, they give you, like, an instruction book, right? Like a Florida for Dummies.
Well, they have signs everywhere, and people still go. People still, walk around their communities. I don't think, people expect that they will run into these creatures. So, okay, let's talk about this incident in Florida where a man has been arrested after spraying a woman with a garden hose. Yeah, it happened. It happened in Flagler County, Florida. They were having an argument, this man and woman. He didn't want her on his property. He said no. Jeffrey Rutfield, arrested on a charge of simple battery. This happened Friday night at a home on Treetop Circle. Sounds like such a nice place.
You know where Treetop Circle is.
Where, John?
It's right down the street.
From the Whole Foods?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, indeed. So Flagler County deputies were called to a home after a woman reported an unknown woman had pointed a gun at her husband. The husband, identified as Rutfield, escalated the incident reportedly by spraying a garden hose in the woman's face after yelling at her.
That really is the role of the husband, right? To escalate.
Escalating things.
Yeah, that's the role of the husband.
He was yelling at her for allegedly being on his property line, and then followed her as she walked back to her car, yelling at her. She says she was in fear of being attacked, so she displayed a firearm for her safety. That's when he went back inside his house. She stayed outside in her car waiting for deputies to arrive, saying she was never on his property and that he had followed her to her. Deputies say she wasn't on his property and that he followed her to her car in an aggressive manner. So, yeah. The police say if you spray someone in the face with a garden hose, you only escalate the situation. It's much better to de-escalate and call us.
Wait, hold on.
What he's got going here is a situation.
I got to take some notes. Hold on. So, don't spray people in the face.
De-escalate. Call the sheriff's department. Don't.
Right, okay.
Yeah. Don't do that.
Got it.
I mean, she also brandished a weapon too, so that kind of escalated it more. But I think she got away with that.
Well, it's the husband has to stand down.
I like to imagine he was telling her, "Go and get." I wish he just, go and you get.
That's one of my favorite words. Get.
It would never occur to me to spray someone with a garden hose.
I mean,
even if it was in my hand, it wouldn't.
Maybe if you owned a business in San Francisco.
Then maybe that's possible. You're right. Okay. This man in Florida, of course, he is rearrested one day after he was released from prison, serving a 9-year prison sentence. He cut off his ankle monitor and he was out. This man allegedly cut off his GPS ankle monitor and was found overdosed by deputies one day after being released on probation from a 9.5-year prison sentence. His name is Albert Gardner.
Albert,
Albert,
thank you.
Not our Albert, no.
Wait, and nobody noticed him walking out?
Albert, thank you.
I mean, I don't know how you don't notice.
He's like, oh, it's my first day on the job. Excuse me.
He was released July 7th after being convicted of lewd and lascivious battery in 2014. He's also deemed a sexual predator.
Big shock there.
He's 29.
He looks like a carny. He looks like the worst possible scenario for a carny, like at the Petaluma Fair.
I'm going to agree the facial tattoos were a bad choice, but yes.
It's not the
29.
only bad choice.
Albert was arrested the next day, the very next day.
Albert's fault today.
Yeah.
Booked on charges of violating probation and tampering with an electric monitoring device, and he was booked without bond. He was previously sentenced to 5.5 years of supervised release, which ended in January of 2029. So, yeah, he's pretty scary looking, I have to say.
Yeah, he looks like he requires supervision, just in a general sense.
His ankle monitor was found pinging at a 7-Eleven.
It's always 7-Eleven, always.
But yeah, he took it off at a 7-Eleven, but they couldn't find him at the 7-Eleven. But the ankle monitor was still recording data there. It was found in a trash can at the 7-Eleven gas station.
And what do you want to bet he attacked an elderly man who was waiting in line at the 7-Eleven?
That is not reported, but it might be possible.
That's a different story.
So they find him at this apartment complex during a call involving an overdose. They find him overdosing at this apartment complex where Gardner's sister said her brother consumed an unknown narcotic and overdosed. He was found unconscious on top of a bed. They pull him to the ground. They start CPR. He survived after they gave him Narcan. He went to the hospital. He had a seizure. He gets medical care, and then it's back to jail for him. So, sayonara, Albert.
I like to think that the people that he just saw the day before in jail were like, "Oh, you finally made it out. Congrats."
He's like, "I've seen you somewhere. I can't really place it. You look
You're
really
back.
familiar."
Oh, I really think that his face tells the whole story in this situation. Man. Let's talk about this boat situation. Kind of cute pictures in this story.
Got a situation.
We do. This is a dog that ends up being the captain of this boat, a designated driver. The dog had one paw on the steering wheel of a small motorboat in Riverview, Florida, as his owner kind of kicked back in the back of the boat with a beer, letting the dog drive the boat.
I am the captain now.
And he's not doing a bad job either, I'll tell you. The pet video has coasted to millions of views across TikTok, with a lot of users calling the dog the designated driver. And I don't know how long this went on for. Obviously, the man is, close enough to the wheel where he can take over if there's a problem.
But you know that dog is like, really? Again? Okay.
Yeah, guys just hanging out in the back. Kind of a cute video.
Well, the dog wants to have dinner, so he knows what's up.
Yeah, that's really cute. Adorable. So yes, that in Florida, that's the feel-good Florida story. And now we're on to the non-feel-good story. No. This Florida man, unfortunately, tries to open a patrol car, threatens to kill a man in custody. This happened at a Gainesville, an alleged shooting at a Gainesville convenience store that ends with
7-Eleven?
It doesn't say. No,
allegedly.
It's the come and go. It's called the Come and Go. Yeah. This man, convicted felon, threatened to kill another man already in police custody. It happened Monday night at the Come and Go. A 911 caller reported someone shooting at him at the store from a U-Haul van stopped at a nearby traffic light. Officers respond to the area, stop this U-Haul, detain the driver, and put him in a patrol car without incident. That's when the 911 caller, identified as Courtney Crosby, ran toward the patrol car and tried to open the door, allegedly yelling that he was going to kill the man inside.
Wow.
Officers intervene. They try to handcuff the 33-year-old man. He physically resists. Police detain him shortly thereafter and put him in a different patrol car.
I was going to ask, did they put him in a different patrol car?
Yeah.
Let's take care of this problem. Just throw him in there.
It was revealed the driver of the U-Haul was at Bentley's upscale nightclub when shots were fired. The driver fled the area in a U-Haul van. The video surveillance footage from the Come and Go shows that Crosby was leaving the store, allegedly firing a gun. His car sustained bullet holes and a firearm was found inside. It was revealed he was a convicted felon. So people went to the hospital. The people were arrested, both of them. Crosby had twice in the past for cocaine and burglary. So he's no stranger to prison either. But yeah, that's kind of a convoluted story of one man in custody being threatened by another who quickly
it's a wild idea.
Went into custody. Mm-hmm.
I mean, the U-Haul also is very random in that story. I don't know what the U-Haul was doing there during nightclub times, but it is a wild idea.
Sometimes you got to stop off. You got to move. You got to move to a new joint.
It's a wild idea, but it just might work.
I'm going to squeeze in one more story. I know we have to pick our favorite, but I'll quickly let you know that a Florida man pushing a stolen lawnmower along railroad tracks has been arrested after a chase.
According to like a Mad here is a situation.
It feels like a Mad Libs generator, right?
Yes. Cue the music. Escambia County Sheriff's Office deputies called to a home to investigate a burglary in which the suspect stole a lawnmower, AirPods, and other items valued at more than $500. While deputies were on the scene taking the report, a neighbor said the stolen lawnmower was being pushed down the railroad track right behind the homes.
What can you tell us about the scene?
Didn't even have a getaway car. The deputy went to the track, spotted the suspect, and gave chase. The video shows the suspect running away from the deputy, leaving the lawnmower behind. The deputy continues the pursuit, follows the suspect, who's been identified as Marcus Dale, over 2 fences before catching up with him and putting him in handcuffs. Dale was taken into custody. He now faces 2 counts of burglary, resisting an officer without violence, petite theft with 2 or more prior convictions, which makes it a felony. And so off he goes.
This is why you need a U-Haul getaway truck, right?
Well,
yeah.
The U-Haul
or a machete. I don't know why he needs the machete, but it would just add to the Mad Libs to the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's true. The U-Haul, though, was being used in the shooting down the road at the Come and Go.
Well, maybe he was going to help out his buddy.
Something. I don't know. All right, we have to pick a favorite, you guys. So I'll quickly recap. We have the Port Orange 11-year-old with a false kidnapping hoax. We have the story sent by Jim Avila with the man dunking a woman's head into a vat of a tar-like substance. We have the Florida 79-year-old man who survives an alligator bite. He says, I'm just trying to be healthy and go for a walk, and look what happens. We have the Florida man arrested for spraying a woman with a garden hose and following her to her car in an aggressive manner. The Florida man with the fine facial wear who cut off his ankle monitor and was arrested one day after being released from prison. The dog driving the boat. The Florida man trying to open a patrol car to kill the other suspect inside, who was promptly arrested. And then the man who stole the lawnmower and was caught nearby pushing it down the railroad tracks. I ask you first, John Daly, what is your favorite?
Great stories. A lot of them kind of convoluted and, kind of difficult to wrap your head around. Mm-hmm. But I think the one that's easy to pick is the designated driver.
You like the dog in the boat?
I think that's hilarious because even the dog knows, my owner is irresponsible and I need to get back to shore.
I will say, Albert, you have outdone yourself today. This is a wonderful curation of the best of Florida. I have to choose the guy who was arrested one day after he was released from prison because
That's strong. That's strong.
I just don't see how you look like that, and I don't select you.
It is very Albert, Florida. I'll give you
what's
that.
your favorite, Albert?
Well, those were just, my two of my options, but I don't know. I kind of like the matter of fact guy of the alligator bite. He's just like, yeah, I'm bleeding. I was out to get like a exercise, and look what happened to me here. But
a lot of people seem to have that reaction, like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of Florida are like they always have quotes of people like, yeah, I just got bitten. I don't know.
Especially the young guys. The young guys are always like, yeah, I just want to let you know.
I think I might need some assistance, but yeah, it doesn't look good.
Yeah. Doesn't look good.
I might be dying, but whatever.
Yeah. All right, so we have all chosen a different one. Did we do a poll in the chat, Albert?
We did, and of course the good boy is winning. The Florida dog, the driver. Anytime there's a dog involved, I feel like the dog, especially in a good story. I wouldn't share a bad dog story, but
well, the dog seems to be the most responsible individual in this segment.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely not the 11-year-old who had the fake abduction.
No.
Yeah, I'm
Not
looking
so
at the chat. A lot of people saying, "Lighthearted, love the dog in the boat." Commentator says, "Very strong, FFF, Albert. Well done. Yeah. Onward, Captain Fido."
Yeah.
Says Perry.
I am the
Jojo
captain
Bob.
now.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's pretty good. Thanks everyone for playing along. This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
This has been Friday Fabulous Florida.
There is a gigantic alligator in my kitchen.
Y'all come back now here.
Daly, thank you for being with us today. I love when you join us for Friday Fabulous Florida.
I'll see everybody on Tuesday at 1 p.m.
Tuesday at 1 p.m. at the afterparty.live, the after party live on our new show. And I can't wait to start it with you.
It'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see everybody.
All right. See you Tuesday. Bye. Thank you. We'll do a little bit of news, and then we will join Jim Avila, I believe Michael Shure, as well as we have talked politics, because there's a lot to talk about today. So let's get to a little bit of news.
The Mark Thompson Show.
On the Mark Thompson Show, I'm Kim McAllister. It's, again, the heat really telling the story. 150 million Americans bracing for extreme heat today. And that is from California to New York. The rising temperatures putting cities on emergency footing and ramping up pressure on the power grid. In some areas, the nighttime lows could be 10 to 15 degrees hotter than normal. So, yeah, it's a lot. We have security measures now being taken outside a Georgia courthouse ahead of potential indictments against former President Trump. Atlanta News First reports barriers were put up between the sidewalk and the road yesterday. District Attorney Fani Willis soon expected to reveal charges connected to the grand jury report, which details an investigation into the 2020 election in Georgia. So they're gearing up with the barricades at the courthouse already. Both the Senate and the House have passed their versions of the annual defense bill. Now lawmakers have to hammer out the difference. The Democratic-led Senate passed a measure Thursday authorizing a top-line figure of $886 billion for 2024. The Republican-controlled House bill includes provisions to roll back Pentagon policies on abortion access and gender-affirming care, which Democrats strongly oppose. So you can see a big fight is looming on this one. The World Trade Center Health Program is getting a major cash infusion from the federal government. The program set to receive nearly $700 million to help close a funding shortfall. The money will allow Shanksville and Pentagon 9/11 survivors to join the program, which monitors the health of 120,000 ground zero first responders and survivors, and it provides lifetime treatment as well. The State Department is ordering all non-emergency government personnel and U.S. citizens leave Haiti as soon as possible. The travel advisory coming down today warning Americans of kidnapping, crime and civil unrest. The Caribbean nation has not elected a new leader since the president was assassinated in 2021, and it's just a bad place to be. So again, all non-emergency government personnel and U.S. citizens are advised leave Haiti as soon as you can. Randy Meisner of the Eagles is dead at the age of 77. The band announcing the news Thursday, revealing he passed away the previous night due to complications from COPD, that's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. In their announcement, they remembered him as an integral part of the Eagles and instrumental in the very early success of the band. Saw a lot of outpouring of sorrow and sadness and support for him yesterday on social media. And lastly, the number of alcohol-related deaths among women are surging in the United States. The ladies are drinking it up, I guess, according to a new study published today in JAMA Network Open. While there's still more alcohol-related deaths among men than women, the death rate for women jumped almost 15% each year from 2018 to 2020. The rate for men increased by 12.5% each year. 2 decades worth of data from the CDC were used to conduct that study. This report and this show is crowdfunded, which means we rely on you. You can find us at themarkthompsonshow.com, themarkthompsonshow.com. You'll find the Patreon and PayPal links there. And of course, the Super Chat is live. Michael Shure and Jim Avila coming up next. We'll talk politics and indictment. I'm Kim McAllister. This is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
It was great. I loved it.
How would you handle this? We could try ignoring it, sir.
Morning.
You cannot say you love your country.
Where are my weed smokers at?
Stay at home and get baked. Okay, this is one of the segments I wait for all week. My 2 favorite journalists, both award-winning, both amazing in every capacity, and both really interesting when it comes to talking politics on the Mark Thompson Show. Let's bring on Jim Avila and Michael Shure. Hi, guys.
Hey, how are you, Kim?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I thought I must have, and I know it's not about me, but I thought I must have hit the jackpot when the indictments came down yesterday, and I know both of you two are coming on. So we've got a new defendant in the case. We've got the former president allegedly telling people to delete video evidence. What do you make of this? Let's go with you, Michael Shure.
Well, there's a lot to make of it. What its impact is on what everybody wants to know, and that's his viability as a presidential candidate, a potential president, or even whether or not he'll go to jail is unclear. But this is further damning evidence. Damning evidence against Donald Trump has done nothing but bolster his intake of cash, funding, popularity amongst the people that do support him already, but it hasn't shown that it's gotten new people to support him. So I think every trickle of bad news, no matter how much we kind of say, yeah, but I think bad news is bad news in politics still. And I think for Donald Trump, this is really damning if true. And I think it is also a preamble to a lot more that is going to be damning in the next several weeks.
I feel
I
like...
agree, Michael. I think that, first of all, let me just say point blank, Donald Trump will never be president again. It's not going to happen. He is president of 35% of this country, and that may continue. They will continue to say that he is being unfairly prosecuted. But independents, moderate Republicans, and Democrats are done with him. He's through. These latest charges that were revealed in the superseding indictment. This is a former president of the United States calling an employee and telling them to destroy tapes that have been subpoenaed by the U.S. attorney. That is criminal. They have now a witness who worked for President Trump when he was at Mar-a-Lago, who was privy to these this conspiracy, was there when his minions were telling the IT guy to find a way to get rid of him, that the boss wants them gone. And they have a witness for that. They have a guy who is only identified as employee number 4. So, we now know that they have those witnesses. They also have that Iran document, the war plan, that was not just some random classified document, but was a very real possibility. I hope it never happens, but there are a lot of people in Washington and at the Pentagon who want to invade Iran. And this was the plan to do it. Yeah. And it would put our soldiers in jeopardy if this is revealed. And he's waving it around and showing it to people who did not have clearance. And he has been saying that it wasn't the document, he was waving newspaper articles. Well, they have the document now. And I believe, it's not been expressly said, but there were at least four people in that meeting. 2 of them were not Trump people. 2 of them one was a writer who was going to publish this information. And the other one, and they were writing for Mark Meadows. Mark Meadows is apparently turned state's evidence as well. So this stuff is really damning. And really, I don't see how he escapes a conviction with this kind of material.
So maybe you guys can set me straight on this, because I know that the allegation is that Trump wanted the staff to delete evidence from a server, and it was video evidence, the security camera footage. And so according to CNN, the Oliveira told the director of IT, the boss wants the server deleted, and that there was an attempt to delete it. What I wonder is, was it actually deleted? And do we know what's on the security footage that was so interesting?
I mean, those are questions that I don't have the answers to, and I don't know that those answers are known publicly or if they've been reported specifically either. I do know, though, that even if they did know and are prepared to talk about it,
right,
this tease is important to what they're doing, which is that you had a president who was part of a cover-up. And what's also important is there is precedent in somewhat recent American presidential history of what happens to presidents who cover up. And I don't think that, a lot of times we've invoked Watergate and whether or not Richard Nixon would have survived today and whether or not Donald Trump's issues are akin to that. But the truth of the matter is there's a similarity when you talk about a cover-up, and the cover-up is what did Nixon in. And perhaps if this does, get bigger and we do learn these specifics, Kim, at that point, you could actually, a cover-up is a very easy thing for the average American to put their arms around. And further to that, a lot of his supporters said this is a witch hunt. Well, when you have a cover-up, you've found the witch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My mind goes wild, though, you guys, with what's on the tape. And I know it doesn't matter because the obstruction is what we're looking at here. But my mind goes to, okay, well, is it this wild, cartoonish pushing around of documents from one place to another? You can see, carts of documents going back and forth on the security footage. Or is it people coming to buy documents or look at documents and paying money and foreign operatives and people like is it really sinister? What is even happening? And I think it just opens up even more questions. But yes, it's the cover up that seems to have gotten people busted in the past. Jim Avila?
Well, I think it matters what's on the tape. My guess is what's on the surveillance tapes are people moving boxes.
Yeah.
That I think is what it really is. And in fact, Trump said this morning on his Truth Social that he claims he turned over the surveillance tapes. So they have them. So eventually, at least we believe Trump, they have them. And I think because they're talking about him so much, I think they probably have some of them. And the IT guy said that he didn't know how to do that. He didn't know how to destroy them. So
that's not a very good IT guy. I mean, clearly they're in Florida and not California, because our IT guys out here, we're top notch.
The IT guy was the Gardner the week before.
Oh, is that right?
And, no, it's not right. But
it could have been also, and again, this is a total guessing game, but the people that were coming to Mar-a-Lago or to Bedminster or wherever it was, it could be surveillance tapes showing people coming in that were not supposed to have been privy to these documents. I mean, I heard that floated. That's not my notion. And I would lean heavily toward guessing that that's what Jim's talking about. Or what Jim's talking about is what happened.
It's interesting. And of course, the former president has responded to the new charges with a new political assault. So of course, it's always like flip it, blame someone else, right? So he is saying they're harassing my company, they're harassing my family, and they're harassing me. And that he is the victim of political persecution, despite all the incriminating evidence now that apparently they have on video, whatever's on the tape. It's all because he is being targeted, he is being persecuted. How long does that even hold water? Is anyone buying that, what he's selling? What do you guys think?
Well, I think his followers are buying it, and he's still likely to win the Republican primary. So he's the front runner. He is the odds-on favorite. We'll see what happens after the January 6th indictments, which are around the corner. Could still happen today, but probably next week. And then we have the Georgia stuff. So it'll be a flood of information. Now, it was interesting yesterday when this happened. I kind of tune in Fox to see what they're saying about the bad news. And of course, they were talking about Hunter Biden. They weren't even talking about the new information, the superseding indictment. And then when they did finally talk about it, they called it a diversion, and it's to take attention away from the Hunter Biden problem. The problem with the Hunter Biden problem is Hunter Biden is not running for election.
Yeah.
And until there's some solid evidence, and there isn't, despite all the smoke, there's not been evidence that ties Joe Biden to wrongdoing. It remains a story of a father who loves his son, who is deeply troubled and probably deserves whatever he gets. He doesn't deserve, by my reading of all the things that usually happen in these cases, he doesn't deserve to go to jail. People who don't pay their taxes and then pay them when the IRS comes knocking at the door usually pay a fine, a civil penalty, and certainly filling out a form on a gun charge is not going to put you in prison either. So there's most people who do the things that Hunter Biden did deserve punishment. They deserve monetary punishment, and he's had to do that. He's paid penalties and his taxes. That's it. Let's move on. If you find later on that he somehow cheated with his father to help a Chinese or Ukrainian company, come back to me. But until you do, knock it off.
Yeah. You mentioned Georgia while you were talking, and I just read a news story about security barriers going up outside the Fulton County Courthouse, and that has everyone speculating, okay, more indictments are finally going to come in the attempts to influence the 2020 Georgia general election case. And I wonder, what you think about this, Michael Shure. Are you seeing that, this all coming to a head at the same time? These indictments flying day by day?
I mean, I don't think it's coordinated. I think that there's probably deference given to different cases by different prosecutors in terms of how they're rolled out. But I don't think you have a prosecutor in Georgia calling a prosecutor to say, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to do it, and how we're going to do it. But all of this happened at around the same time, and it's taking what seems to be a somewhat similar amount of time to get through these things. And I think, when you heard the news about Rudy Giuliani admitting lies in Georgia and defamation, that you started to think that Georgia was going to be happening soon, because those things were starting to come out. So I think I would have expected Georgia before January 6th, but some people said January 6th is going to come first. I just think that this is, there's a cumulative effect that this has. These would be state charges in Georgia, which make them a little different in terms of the pardoning power of the former president, should he be convicted in these crimes. So there's, that makes it a little bit different. Again, it's all part of the same thing, and it's all part of what happened in the wake of a loss in a presidential election, and then what happened just before those results were being certified in D.C. And that this is consistent. So in terms of Georgia, I think it's pretty damning stuff because we've heard the tapes already.
Yeah. Is it worse, Jim, in Georgia? Because I don't know if he can be pardoned for state crimes. Is this the most serious one that we'll be looking at?
Well, I think, as Michael points out, that's an important point, is that a federal pardon would not pardon him for Georgia wrongdoing. The other, she has said two things have happened recently. First of all, the Supreme Court in Georgia said that Trump could not remove the prosecutor there, which he tried to do, the district attorney, saying that she was biased. She is not biased, and she will continue to prosecute the case. She has said she'll do it by August. August is around the corner, so it could happen at any time. In my experience, district attorneys normally, if there's a problem, if the federal prosecutor says, hey, I'd like you to wait because I don't want some evidence revealed, they usually will defer to the federal prosecutor. There's no indication that that's happened, though. So, I don't, it could happen, but it doesn't look like Jack Smith cares. He's pretty laser-like, and I think he's laser-focused on what he's having to do. And then, whatever the district attorney in Georgia does is okay with him.
And on the human side of things, I think that they're pretty cognizant of not having it look as if it is a certain way. Yeah. And I don't know this to be fact either, but knowing the way that politicians react to how they might be criticized, I do know a little bit about that. And I would imagine they would try and avoid having it look as if it was this sort of coordinated barrage. This is happening because you had a president of the United States act in really egregious ways all over the map.
You had mentioned, I think Jim mentioned Rudy Giuliani. And can we talk about that for just a moment? I wanted to read you something. This is actually from comedian Joe Klosek, but I thought it was just a great wrap up of the whole Giuliani thing. He said, Rudy Giuliani admitted he made false statements against 2 Georgia poll workers, releasing security footage of Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, insisting they were passing a USB stick back and forth with voter ID on it. They weren't. It was mints. It turned their lives upside down. They received death threats. Conspiracy theorists showed up at their homes. Their reputations were smeared. Giuliani, he writes, now says his claims were false, but they are protected political speech under the First Amendment. He says, I'm no legal scholar, but putting 2 innocent people's lives at risk and spreading a completely fabricated story to illegally keep a guy in the White House and then claiming it was just a First Amendment political speech is not going to fly in court. I think that, you hear Rudy Giuliani and the names of the poll workers, their lives were turned upside down, kind of, they get shuffled under the mat here. And it's important
freedom
to know
of the speech
this happened. Yeah.
Freedom of speech ends at where libel begins.
Right.
Okay. We have freedom of the press, but we're still subject to libel. And even though we have more protections in the press than Rudy Giuliani has, Rudy Giuliani was a nobody. He wasn't an elected official. He was the president's private attorney, and he spread lies and libelous lies about these 2 women. He said they were passing he went into racial tropes. He said that they were passing this USB thing like they were passing drugs among each other. He totally irresponsible. I don't know what happened to Rudy Giuliani. I really don't. He has become a national laughingstock and deserves every bit of prison time he gets.
Yeah, and I to say I don't know what happened to Rudy Giuliani would imply that he was that redeemable beforehand. I never was found. I always thought he was someone who would have put his mother in jail as a prosecutor in New York if it would get him where he wanted to go. And he thought that by staying with this Trump thing, it would get him, and I think to a degree, Mark Meadows the same. You start to see people like Giuliani and Meadows come out and say the things they've said over the past week or so, or imply, at least with Meadows, that I think you're starting to see the walls crumble a little around the empire of Donald Trump. I wouldn't get too excited about it if you don't like Trump, but I would say that this is how these empires come down.
A story on the Huffington Post today is talking about Trump vowing to run for president from prison if he's convicted. So he appears on this pro-Trump talk show with John Fredericks, and he says he's asked whether a conviction resulting in a prison sentence would stop his bid for a second term. And here's the quote: "Not at all," says Trump. "There's nothing in the Constitution to say that it could. Even the radical left crazies are saying, no, that wouldn't stop, and it wouldn't stop me either." What happens to America if Trump wins the GOP nomination, as Jim said he likely will, and we have a former president with a shot at being back in office, running from prison? What happens to the country if we get a president who's in jail?
He doesn't have a shot.
See, I would argue, Michael Shure, that's the kind of thinking that led to 2016.
No,
because
2016
I was convinced.
2016 was different. I was too. But now we've had 4 years of this president. We've had 2 years of his post-presidency. And we know exactly what has happened, both in a practical way and a hands-on way. If you look at the Supreme Court and the decisions that have come out, and you look at what he has done to turn off independent voters and women, and you look at his behavior and you look at the indictments. So it is different than 2016. 2016, it seemed like there was no shot of a huckster like Trump winning, an entertainer. Donald Trump didn't think he was going to win. I was at his headquarters the night of on election night. I was riding up in an escalator with Jeff Sessions, who was the first senator to support him, who then became the attorney general. I asked him about actually it was Roy Blunt in Missouri, who was running for re-election that night. I said, "Is Blunt going to pull this off?" Because it looked tight. And he said, "I think he's got it. I'm pretty convinced he's got it." I said, "What about this guy? What about Trump?" He said, "I'm not as sure as I am about Blunt." Nobody really thought that was going to happen, but even Trump didn't. And I felt it that night. Now we know more. We have more evidence, and he has turned off more people who did vote for him then. And so I don't think you can equate the two. And a presidential candidate in prison is never going to win the presidency while any of us are alive anyway.
Well, thank you for talking me off a ledge. I worry because, again, I was so convinced last time that people could see through it. So I'm afraid that if we don't assume he's going to win, that we somehow lose some of the will to fight against it.
Remember in 2016, Kim, Hillary Clinton was predicted to win by somewhere around 6 points. Okay, she was about 6 points ahead. Right now, Donald Trump has a negative approval rating of 70% among the general population. That is not going to win him anything. It is totally different. The only, they could put, and they kind of are. They could put a statue up in the Democratic Party, and it will win against Donald Trump. It is an anti-Trump vote, no matter who is the Democratic candidate. If it's Trump, that people are going to go to the polls to vote against him, and they're going to go in droves. There's going to be a massive turnout. Young people, especially young people, there are more young people voting now than there ever has been. They are not Donald Trump voters. Women are not Donald Trump voters. They hold him responsible for packing the court and overturning Roe. That is, all those independents who said at the time in 2016, what's the difference? What's the harm? What could happen? What's the worst that could happen? That's what they were saying. Well, we know what the worst that can happen. We've lived through it.
And I want to add two things, because Jim brought up Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton brought with her a whole lot of negativity from the other side. In other words, she invited people not to vote for her. There were people who were voting against Hillary Clinton in ways that you don't see in most elections. So that element is gone. If people don't like Biden, there isn't the vehemence, there isn't the history, there isn't this sort of grudge against him. Women vote for Biden in ways that women didn't even vote for Hillary, which was surprising to a lot of Democratic analysts in the postmortem on that election. The other part of it that you're talking about is that there isn't a left working against Biden. There isn't going to be a constituency that RFK or Marianne Williamson has. At least at this point, there isn't that person. No. So you don't have the people that are going to be against Biden the way that many people who supported Bernie didn't want to vote for Hillary Clinton. Whether or not they did against Donald Trump, we don't know, but we know that there were several that didn't. So I think all the dynamics are different this time.
Yeah, I mean, the left, the progressive wing of the party, AOC, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, they're all with Joe Biden. There's nobody, there's no hint of any of them running. There's no left candidate. Robert F. Kennedy is not a Democrat. He's getting his forum is Republicans. That's not going to happen. There's no strong, even the Green Party candidate, who is a very smart man and fun to watch. And his name is escaping me. Michael, help me out here.
The
professor.
Now it's doing to me too.
Yeah, the guy with the wild hair.
Right. Cornel West. Sorry, Cornel West.
Yes, thank you, Cornel West. He was smart and very fun to listen to, and has a lot of ideas. But he's not going to pull a lot of votes. Joe Biden has the African American vote, because he caters to it. He is very careful about making sure that they're happy. Save some time, Kim. We need to talk about old people.
Okay, we're almost done. I feel like I needed this conversation. You want to talk about old people?
Well, I just think that the McConnell space out was very hard to watch, and I'm not mocking him in any way. I'm not a Republican who mocks people who have a problem, but clearly he has a problem, and If Joe Biden would have spaced out for 30 seconds in front of a microphone, the right-wing media would have been tearing down the walls.
Right.
So, I think there's one of the things that's interesting to watch, and since I write about the media, is the reaction here. The reaction on MSNBC and CNN was certainly newsworthy. It was newsworthy what's happening. And there are people who are calling for him to step down, but nobody is mocking him. Nobody is, like they did when Joe Biden tripped over a sandbag, and the guys like Jesse Waters and that other clown who's on Fox who does the nighttime show, were full of jokes. That's not what we need. What we need, and Dianne Feinstein had the same issue on the same day. The same day, she couldn't remember
how to vote or what she
they had to tell her to vote to say aye.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have to address this somehow. And I worry, as we go along, there's no evidence of it yet. There have been slip-ups by Joe Biden, and you can see that he forgets names just like I do. Mm-hmm. And I know as somebody who I'm 68.
He was actually the one who told me Cornel West, if that helps.
That's right. He liked that.
The president texted me,
Yeah, Joe Biden probably will remember the name. But
I mean, doesn't everybody forget names? I mean,
it happens more now. I'm 68. I just turned 68 this week. And, I know that I'm not, as far as names are concerned and things like that, I've got to look it up.
Yeah.
So, and that's not a huge concern. But when you're president of the United States and you have to make quick decisions, I'm concerned. And I think people have a right to be concerned. And I wish that he would do what he did, what he said he would do, which was be a transitional president. He has taken us out of the dark ages and brought us back into the light. Step aside and get on Mount Rushmore and let somebody else run. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I'll say I'm nearly 2 decades younger than you, and I call my kids by the wrong name. I mean, it happens to us. So I don't think that being forgetful of a name or not being able to recall what's the name of that movie I watched, those things I don't think are really indicative of cognitive decline. But what we saw with Dianne Feinstein the other day, that was a little bit concerning. And what we saw with McConnell, again, that's concerning. And now we find out that he's had multiple episodes like this.
Yeah, and those are real too. McConnell had a fall. Feinstein has some level of dementia. We know that. The president doesn't. He's just an older American.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah, he's just an older
Yeah, he
fellow.
still moves pretty well when you see him. Go to the helicopter, and sometimes he runs and that kind of thing.
He's what is he, 81?
Yeah, he's. I
think he's 80.
80.
Yeah.
He's running. I remember when he was running for president, and I saw him, and it was one of these stages that was like, there was a major walkway, and then the stage was massive. He ran all the way down the walkway, ran to the microphone, and and then he starts speaking, and he's not out of breath. I would have been like, give me a minute, everybody.
Right.
Hold on for a second before I start speaking. That made me think, this is a guy who's older but really in shape.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, well, you guys, I love our conversation this week. Thank you for telling me that President Trump isn't going to win no matter what. I need to hear it. I'm going to make you say it every week so that I don't freak out as election season approches.
There's
Jim
never been
Oliver,
anything
Michael
like this.
Shure. Yes, thank you so much for being here. I adore both of you, and I'll see you next Friday.
Okay, bye.
Bye, guys. Love them both, and we are so fortunate to have Jim Avila and Michael Shure here on the Mark Thompson Show. Let's do a little bit of news, because we've got Michael Snyder waiting in the wings to talk all things movies on this Friday.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Yes. Let us start with a discussion of what is happening with authorities in Fulton County, Georgia. They appear to be preparing for a Donald Trump indictment. That is what it looks like. Atlanta News is first reporting now that barriers are up. They were put up yesterday in front of the courthouse. The Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis soon expected to announce the charges against the former president in connection with the 2020 election in Georgia. And that is a story we will be following here on the Mark Thompson Show. President Biden is calling out a Republican senator for causing a growing cascade of damage and disruption to the military. The president referring to Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, who is protesting the Pentagon's policy of reimbursing service members for out-of-state travel for abortions. Tuberville has blocked more than 250 military promotions in protest of this, really holding things up. While inflation may be slowing down, June's personal consumption expenditures price index increased by just 0.2% from the previous month. Earlier this week, the Federal Reserve announced a 0.25 percentage point interest rate increase after there was no rate hike in June. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott now telling Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, there is no silver lining in slavery. Does somebody need to be told that? Scott was commenting about Florida's Black Studies curriculum DeSantis endorsed that suggests that the enslaved gain skills and training from slavery. Head shaker. The two GOP presidential hopefuls are campaigning in Iowa this week. And it has happened. Have you been waiting for it? Maybe not. But another jackpot is nearing the $1 billion mark. That's billion with a B. The top prize in tonight's Mega Millions drawing will be, at least 910 million. That's close to $1 billion, right? So the drawing again held tonight, and everybody waiting to see, is it time for it to pop? I think it might be. The Alabama woman who admitted to a kidnapping hoax is now facing charges. Carly Russell faces 1 count of false reporting to law enforcement authorities and 1 count of falsely reporting an incident. She went missing for 2 days after calling 911 to report that she saw a toddler on the side of a highway. After her disappearance, or her reappearance rather, police said Russell told them she had been kidnapped while she checked on the child. Each charge carries up to a year in jail if she is convicted. I'm Kim McAllister, and this report and this show is crowdfunded, which means we rely on you. The MarkThompsonShow.com, the website, the Patreon link, the PayPal link, all there. And of course, the Super Chat is live on this Friday here on The Mark Thompson Show. Again, I'm Kim McAllister, and this is The Mark Thompson Show.
The Mark Thompson Show.
Here we are, and it is time to check on movies, and I'm very happy to bring on the esteemed Marina Times columnist. He comes and goes on a rainbow. It is Michael Snyder, everybody.
Hey, happy Friday,
Hi.
Kim. Hi. I'm glad to be here. Hope everybody's looking forward to the weekend. I know that sports fans in the Bay Area and, all points south, east, west, and north are excited about the Boston Red Sox coming to Oracle Park and facing off against the Giants. First time in a number of years, and I am thrilled and filled with anticipation,
Okay, that's good. Are you going to the game?
I am not, but I will be watching diligently on my laptop.
Okay.
Rooting on the team. Speaking of laptops and the internet, I was so shocked to see that the Muskrat has begun rebranding Twitter as X, and heedless of the letters association with porn, or follow me here, maybe because of its association with porn. I don't know.
You think Twitter becomes a porn warehouse?
I have no idea, but
I don't either.
It could be a pirate thing. X marks the spot. Maybe he was reading Treasure Island. I have no idea what possessed the guy to do this. A brand that's so solid, I mean, Twitter
crazy.
Twitter and tweet are in the lexicon. They're like verbs, right? I mean,
right. And it takes a lot. I mean, talk about marketing. It takes a lot to get something to, be part of our culture and just be so ingrained. And now to change it like that, I don't understand either.
I don't either. You want to talk movies?
Let's talk movies because, everyone's talking Barbie and Oppenheimer still. That still seems to be the focus, but there's more to see.
Right. I have actually been treated for a serious case of Barbenheimer. It's there's a prescription, and it's to go to another movie. And let's kick off with Haunted Mansion. The movie is called Haunted Mansion, but it's not particularly scary. Then again, it features performances by really accomplished comedic actors Owen Wilson, Tiffany Haddish, and Danny DeVito, but it's not particularly funny. After the unexpected success and franchising of Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion is another movie based on a Disneyland ride, and this is the second attempt to bring a story built around elements of the Haunted Mansion theme park to the big screen. That said, it is much better than the pretty awful 2003 Eddie Murphy vehicle, The Haunted Mansion, which isn't saying much. And in fact, I'd put it on a par with the rather meh 2021 Halloween special, Muppet Haunted Mansion, which was made for streaming on Disney Plus, and I assume is still there if you want to watch it. So in the case of the 2023 Haunted Mansion, the filmmakers, director Justin Simeon and screenwriter Katie Dippold, did try to give this, let's call it a cinematization. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, they tried to give it some emotional heft, with three of the principal characters mourning lost loved ones, which makes their attempts to interact with the spirit world a little more poignant and sensible to the context of the movie. Lakeith Stanfield is New Orleans resident Ben. He's an ex-scientist type whose misery has gotten the best of him, so he has forsaken his career and is now barely making a living by leading ghost tours of the French Quarter, where he debunks the supernatural to his disgruntled customers. I mean, they go on ghost tours hoping to actually get some like, ooh, ghosts are real. He's not buying any of that. So Rosario Dawson is Gabby, a widowed single mother with a precocious son named Travis, who desperately misses his father. And they're moved to a fixer-upper in New Orleans isn't going too well due to the presence of many angry specters roaming the dilapidated halls of the house. So a promise of quick cash from a shady minister played by Owen Wilson brings Ben and the man of the cloth to the mansion where Ben, finds out that maybe there's something going on. And he and eventually a medium and a professor of the paranormal, played respectively by Haddish and DeVito, are brought into the mix with predictably wacky results. Yes, there is a degree of emotion courtesy of Stanfield Dawson and Chase W. Dillon, the kid actor who plays Travis. Oh, yeah. Jamie Lee Curtis and Jared Leto were roped into roles gleaned from the Disneyland attraction. And the New Orleans setting is funky and known to get appropriately ooky spooky. Still, the scares and the laughs are no great shakes. The film even goes so far as to have a sequence where certain unfortunates trapped in the titular mansion are thrown into chairs and scooted around through doors and out of the mansion, just like people on a certain ride at Disneyland. So it's like a 2-hour exercise in product placement, which seems to be the wave of the present. So let's see. In the past year, we've seen Tetris, BlackBerry, Super Mario Brothers, Dungeons and Dragons, Barbie, of course. And next week, we're going to get Gran Turismo, a movie that features the video game racing simulator of the same name as a major element of its based on a true story plot. And now we have Haunted Mansion. Kim, as soon as the strike is over, I'm getting on board the product IP train and pitching Almond Joy the movie, the inspiring tale of a confection that risked censure by daring to put nuts on top of a coconut and chocolate mounds bar. That's going to be my big pitch.
Didn't we have a movie about, was it Doritos or chips?
Oh, yeah. Flaming Hot, about Flaming Hot Cheetos.
Cheetos, that's right. So if we had a Cheeto movie, we could have an Almond Joy movie.
Right, I'm telling you, this thing is money in the bank. Anyway, as for Haunted Mansion 2023, just might work. As for Haunted Mansion 2023, it doesn't earn a boo from me, mostly due to the goodwill generated by its skilled cast, Stanfield, Dawson, Wilson, Haddish, and DeVito, but it is no e-ticket ride, if you get my drift.
I have a question about it, though. Would you say it's for kids? This is a good kid movie, or is it too spooky for kids?
It's a family movie, but I really tend to think, 10, 12 and up. There are some funny moments, but it does deal with death. So,
okay.
you
all right.
make the call.
What's your next one? What do you want to talk about?
Okay. Let's talk about Talk to Me. Those movies where a bunch of snarky teens get together and play chicken with a supernatural object like a Ouija board or a book of magic spells or, a cursed brooch. The cursed brooches are always laying around the house. The next thing you know, everybody's gathered around it and trying to have a seance. Now, imagine that all of those kids spoke with an Australian accent. Well, that's Talk to Me, which is a pretty decent and definitely creepy new horror movie from Down Under. So it may lean on some familiar tropes, but it's well made, well acted by its young cast, most of whom, if not all of them, unknown here in the States. And there are some grown-ups too, including a familiar face in Miranda Otto of Lord of the Rings and other big movies, who plays the mother of a brother and sister who become enmeshed in a game of spirit conjuring that uses what may or may not be an embalmed hand to contact the dead. So Talk to Me gets a little grisly, benefiting from committed performances from the young'uns and some very good practical effects and skin-crawlingly frightening makeup, rather than the sort of computer-generated monsters or floating ectoplasm that seems to be in every other frame of Haunted Mansion. And more importantly, Talk to Me delves into the emotional and psychological impact of a genuine tragedy, a death that occurs before the events of the movie, and informs the actions of Mia, the teenage girl whose pain fuels the movie's descent from party time into bloody terror. Sophie Wilde, who plays Mia, shows depth and range. She's a performer to watch. And kudos to co-directors Danny and Michael Filippo, and to Danny and Bill Hinsman, who co-wrote the screenplay. Talk to Me may be a little flimsy in its setup. And again, the accents might be a stumbling block for some people. It's funny, Miranda Otto speaks so clearly and distinctly. She's classically trained, I'm sure, and the kids are just mumbling and using jargon and whatever. Nonetheless, once you accept the nuts and bolts of it, it does deliver genuine scares, unlike a certain other movie I just spoke about. Anyway, Talk to Me is in theaters, just like that other movie. Shall we move on?
We should, but before we do, can I show a picture of you as a Barbie?
Oh, sure, if you need to.
I do. This is Snyder in a box. Snyder Barbie. Everybody needs one. I just want to show that.
It's boho Barbie. Collect them all.
That is the cutest little photo op thing, and you look adorable in your Barbie box.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to show my support for this worldwide craze, even though I thought the movie was, I enjoyed watching it. Again, let me say, Oppenheimer, by all metrics, a better film, but Barbie had its pleasures, okay? It did.
Thank you for allowing me to show the Barbie, the Snyder in a box. I really appreciate it.
By the way, that's only for people who are watching the video feed, not the audio feed. But trust me when I tell you, I'm cute as the Dickens. I really am.
All right, let's move on with your movies now.
Okay. All right. Oh, Nicolas Cage. Cage may be capable of subtle and award-worthy work on screen, as in Pig, Leaving Las Vegas, and City of Angels. But he is also revered when he's in his over-the-top glory, as in the recent horror comedy Renfield, with Sympathy for the Devil, a lean and mean neo-film noir that also features the versatile Joel Kinnaman as a straight man. You get Cage uncaged. He's a Boston-accented bastard who sneaks into the backseat of the Kinnaman character's car in a Las Vegas hospital parking garage, where the latter has shown up because his wife is on the maternity ward and about to have a baby. So the unwanted passenger, played by Cage, pulls a gun on the driver and simply tells him to motor out of the garage and into the desert, and thus begins a cat and mouse game that has more than its share of surprises. This is not a big budget movie. It's certainly not an elegant piece of tongue-in-cheek mythologizing like the recent Cage-centric comedy, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. It is a seriously nutty joy to be on this journey into tension that takes some very unexpected turns. And Cage and Kinnaman play off one another so well. While it's not among either actor's best, Sympathy for the Devil, which was tightly directed by Yuval Adler, is, let's say, devilishly entertaining, especially for Cage fans. It's in theaters, and this is one of those movies that's going to play well at home as well. Sympathy for the Devil, I enjoyed it. I like Cage. I like watching him chew the scenery. He was gobbling up miles and miles of desert in this one. I don't know how he manages to do that, but he did.
Would you call it an action thriller or not horror?
It's film noir-ish, tension, kind of crime drama vibe. Speaking of which, as unlikely as it may seem, the unexpected hybrid of science fiction, gangster crime drama, and comedy entitled They Cloned Tyrone is one of the better movies I've seen this year, and it's available now on Netflix, so woohoo. Fontaine, played by John Boyega of Attack the Block and recent Star Wars movies, is a low-level drug dealer in his rundown inner-city neighborhood. Yo-Yo, played by Tiona Paris, who is Monica Rambeau, a.k.a. Photon, in the Marvel movies and TV shows. She's a streetwalker who wants out of the life and into higher education, or so she says. Right. Slick Charles, played by Oscar winner Jamie Foxx, is a feckless pimp who's trying to get by with the least amount of effort. But their ramshackle corner of the world is not what it seems, which they each begin to realize when Fontaine is gunned down by a rival drug dealer and left for dead, only to wake up in his bed the next morning, none the worse for bullets. So is Fontaine dreaming or hallucinating? And if so, why did Yo-Yo and Charles see him get shot? So mysteries unravel over the course of an extremely amusing and fun-filled movie that also features David Allen Greer in a brief but hilarious turn as a preacher, and Kiefer Sutherland as a man with the answers that Fontaine, Yo-Yo, and Charles seek but may not like. Anyway, They Cloned Tyrone was directed in very lively and knowing fashion by Jewel Taylor, who co-wrote the razor-sharp script with Tony Rettenmeyer. It's strong on social satire and 70s blaxploitation movie energy, even though it's apparently set in the modern day. And it somehow manages to be mordantly funny, even as it depicts some ugly truths about the racial divide that still exists in America after centuries. Some have likened it to Get Out in its subtext, and I see echoes of Westworld. It does have science fictional elements, as one might perceive from the title. I'm just glad that they didn't call it Clones in the Hood, because that would have been a joke too far. It's in theaters, but more importantly, like I said, it's on Netflix. I really got a kick out of it.
So do you want to talk about one more or a TV show? Because I think we can squeeze in one other thing.
Let's talk about television for a moment, because as you know, I like genre stuff. I like science fiction. I like superheroes. And I want to say a few words in praise of Those Old Scientists, which is a crossover episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds that deftly incorporates characters from the animated series Star Trek Lower Decks with Jack Quaid. Yeah, that Quaid name means what you think of me, grown up Nepo baby, and Tawny Newsome, actress and musician, as live action versions of the ensign characters that they voice on Lower Decks, Bradward Boimler and Beckett Mariner. And regardless of Quaid's lineage, Mom and Dad are Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid. He is fantastic as the live-action Boimler. And the main cast of Strange New Worlds is up for the comedy that results from this the situation where the wayward ensigns portal from their 2D world 100 years in the future back to the 3D world of pre-Star Trek, pre-Kirk Star Trek, before Kirk takes the helm. So you've got Anson Mount as Christopher Pike, and you got Rebecca Romaine as number one, and Ethan Peck as the young Spock. It was so entertaining. I have never seen in my life an element of Star Trek or Star Wars or something from Marvel that didn't have a lot of complaints in social media for one reason or another. I saw nothing but 100% praise for this thing.
Wow.
From all corners, and I was shocked. And speaking of the Quaids, Full Circle on Max is a Steven Soderbergh-helmed 6-episode miniseries inspired by Akira Kurosawa's classic crime drama High and Low. Yeah, he did more than samurai epics. Full Circle is a multi-character ensemble piece set in New York City that spins out of a kidnapping that goes wrong. I was totally engrossed in it. The cast is headed up by Zazie Beetz, Claire Danes, Timothy Oliphant, and Jack Quaid's dad, Dennis Quaid. I really enjoyed Full Circle on Max, which used to be known as HBO Max. And I guess that wraps things up for today's little culture blast.
It does. So let's wrap it up. Haunted Mansion. You said, meh. Talk to Me, you enjoyed. You said it's there's some problems with it, but overall, Talk to Me, you said was pretty good. And some of the up and coming actors you said we should watch for. Sympathy for the Devil, I don't think you liked that one very much.
I did like it.
You did like Sympathy for the Devil. Okay.
Right. I did. I thought it was fun. It was like a two-hander with Joel Kinnaman and Nick Cage in his glory. I enjoyed it. Again, made on a shoestring, but kicked butt. It's not going to change the world, but I enjoyed it.
And They Cloned Tyrone. You found that funny, and you thought that was a good one.
Yeah, it's my favorite of the 4 films, actually, and it's again available on Netflix. How's that?
And then, and I think you said it's called Those Old Scientists. Is that what that?
That's the episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. If you're watching the show, you already know. It was so much fun.
And Full Circle for TV. And I love that you always talk about TV because I think that's where most of us are watching. So that's good. Thank you for including that.
Hey, my pleasure. And thanks for having me on.
Thank you. You can find Michael Snyder at the Marina Times and, of course, here on the Mark Thompson Show every Friday. Michael Snyder, thank you.
You're very welcome, Kim. We'll check you out and Mr. Mark Thompson next week at a new time. I guess we'll be coming on at about 12:40 p.m. Does that sound right?
So the show will be from 11 to 1. And on Friday, next Friday, you'll be at about, I would say 12:35, 12:40. So that sounds about right.
Well, but it's just like daylight savings time. Push your clocks ahead, everybody.
Michael Snyder, he comes and goes on a rainbow.
Farewell and go Giants.
Bye, Michael Snyder. And that is the Friday show here on the Mark Thompson Show. Albert, do we have any closing business?
I think we might have a couple. We do have a couple here.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Deborah for a $10 super sticker. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for that. Really kind. I appreciate it. Of course, the show is crowdfunded. We really need you guys. And Deborah stepping up with a $10 super sticker. Thank you. Wes with $5 on a Friday, a Florida Fabulous Friday. Thank you, Wes, for the $5. So appreciated. So grateful. And Kathleen with a $20 super sticker. Kathleen, really kind of you. Thank you so much for helping the Mark Thompson Show. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. We appreciate it so much. And William for a $3 super sticker. William, thank you. Thank you very much to everyone who contributes to the show and contributes in other ways as well, being here in the chat and hanging out with us. It's lovely to have you along. Mark Thompson will be back on Monday. He is winging his way from Washington, D.C. to California, and it'll be a normal show next week. But Tuesday, remember, the show switches times. We'll be on from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., followed by the after party live. I'm Kim McAllister. Albert, thank you for putting together a great show today. I appreciate you too. This is the Mark Thompson Show. From all of us here, I will say bye-bye.